Potential Awaits podcast. My name is Sue Wedsworth, your host, coach, and professor that founded WORTHResults to help people maximize their potential and achieve what they want in life. Today, we're going to talk about tension in the workplace. So put away all your distractions and focus on today's lesson because this podcast class is now in session. What does retention mean and why is it so important to us? Within the world of organizational behavior, retention means to keep or retain employees within an organization. So, will you see aspects of retention in your own career? Absolutely. As soon as you hear terms like employee engagement or, maybe talk to your boss about your own career and your organization where you work, retention will be an important factor. The idea of having employees stay and not leave that organization, which, by the way, is known as turnover, is important for every business. And it will even be more important going forward. Why? The first reason is that companies spend hundreds of thousands of dollars monitoring employee engagement. They do that by adding expensive company perks, doing conferences or retreats, hiring training managers, etc., all under the assumption that all these efforts will help reduce their turnover levels. Second, economists predict that over the next decade or so, 1/5 of the Canadian population will be leaving the labor force. Take these 2 points into consideration, and what does that mean for you and our topic of conversation today? First, as employers, this means you will really need to determine not only effective hiring practices, but also retention strategies that actually work. Second, for employees, that means for probably the first time in your life, you will be in the driver's seat as it relates to where you want to work and what you want to do for a career or a job. In short, we will be having a labor shortage, and as such, based on simple demand and supply, the demand for workers will be far greater than the supply. We've already started to see these issues with labor shortages in the Canadian marketplace. Many people felt it was related to COVID, but actually COVID just enhanced the ability for people to leave the workforce. As the population gets older, it of course will get even worse. That's why retention is so important. More so for employers, but you employees and potential entrepreneurs out there, for you, it means quite a lot too. As an employer, a key role is not only keeping your employees, but recruiting the right employee. Realize that it costs much more to recruit a new employee than it does to retain them. So, do all great organizations focus their energies on recruitment? Not necessarily. If we look at what our American partners are doing, employee engagement initiatives grew from $750 million a year in 2012 to $1.5 billion a year in 2017. And that sounds great, but unfortunately, despite that 108% increase in investment in employee engagement levels have remained relatively flat over that same period. Now, why would that be? Well, it isn't really the employee's fault. Recent surveys attached to that said engagement, 96% of employees, they really want to be engaged, but it's just a struggle in that arena. And again, why is that? Motivation and engagement are very intertwined. So as I spoke about motivation in a previous podcast and goals in one of my first podcast lessons, engagement is more about being internally driven than externally impacted. The key will be effective hiring practices, making sure you're hiring the right employee for the position and the culture within your organization. But with the labor shortages we spoke about earlier, keeping them with your organization will be the additional challenge. Right now, many people who are not happy in their present employment leave for usually reasons such as better pay, availability for advancement or a promotion, or even a better location closer to home. With the move to hybrid working because of the pandemic, location is not as much of a factor, but That also means that people can work with any organization anywhere if they can work remotely. And that's a double-edged sword. While employers can recruit from across the country if the work can be done remotely, well, then so can employees apply from across the country. One aspect of recruitment that I help my corporate clients with is looking at personality inventories that match those already in the organization. By using a DISC personality inventory, you can get a baseline personality assessment of the type of person you feel would fit in great with your organization or even fit in a specific role. Then, when you have various applicants that have been shortlisted, you can select them to take a personality DISC assessment, look at their profile, and copy it to the baseline that you've already demonstrated. From there, you can see who you want to interview. This type of process can also work with retention. Outside of pay and promotion, another reason why someone leaves is workplace pressures. Conflict at the workplace, even with a remote working environment, has been a strong stressor for workplace unhappiness. So having a team or even the organization learn how to effectively work and communicate with different personality types will help reduce stress and make working more enjoyable. Retention for employees and employers, in my opinion, will come down to the smaller things that make not being easily quantifiable, but can be easily controlled by employers. Yes, you can provide pay and benefits, but there will be more that applies to having people stay. Based on my research so far, what is causing employee turnover is lack of appreciation for the job being performed by the incumbent for the amount of money being received. The low levels of appreciation and recognition for millennials and Gen Zers is what is causing them to leave more than anything else right now. Why are they not feeling appreciated for the work they do? Well, because largely Gen Xers who grew up in the world of baby boomers appreciate hard work, i.e., a work ethic topic that I'm going to be talking about soon. They were told to work hard, and if you work hard, you will succeed. They grew up with competition and winning, not just to get a ribbon for participation, and many feel millennials and Gen Zers have been coddled. So when they complain about not feeling the love at the workplace, well, it sometimes falls on very deaf ears. So right there we have the disconnect. If you're feeling underappreciated, well, I get that that might be a good reason to leave, and you can do that for now, but soon you'll actually be in the total driver's seat. But you'll have to wait the next 5 to 10 years. What do you need to do, though, to keep a job for longer than many of you have? Well, if you keep leaving and going to job to job to job, you're going to get a reputation of leaving when things get tough. And that's not going to help you get that job that you may really want down the road. So for now, communication is the key between these two groups. Setting expectations on both sides and sharing an agreement with both sides on what needs to be done, allowing for reasonable give and take, is what will make both sides, employer and employee, prosper. It is still important to survey employees, continue with engagement exercises, but the best option is to provide individual and team motivational coaching development programs. Again, motivation is individualistic. What motivates one person will not motivate another. So having one-to-one programs designed for each employee to stay happy will be something that should be started now. If you want more information on your own engagement or on your team's engagement, or even understanding how the DISC personality profile testing inventory works, I'm happy to help you or your team, so please reach out. That's it for today. Thanks so much for listening. I know there's a lot of choices out there, and so happy you spent your time with me today. If you like what you hear, please be sure to subscribe so you never miss a lesson. If you want to talk about your own story or have a specific question you want to be answered next time, head over to WORTHResults.com and connect with me. I would love to hear from you. See you next time.